coffee, yeah.
Thanks, Trudy.
Public comments.
I have some for the end, but they're not relevant to your discussion today.
Okay. Director comments.
We have the RFQB out for proposals. So far, 38 companies have downloaded the documents on BidNet, and we did not get any questions on the proposal. There was a time period for them to submit questions and respond, and there was no questions at all. So now we're just waiting for the proposals to come in. I can't recall the due date. It's the first part of January 4th. Okay, thank you. And then we'll review those, move those over, and bring something to you for January for consideration. So kind of tabulate everything and see where you want to go from there. We meet in January.
I'm sorry, I missed, when is the deadline again?
Deadline is January 4th.
4.
To get proposals from.
Yeah.
And then, do we have a deadline? Like, was that January 31st, or is that the land bank?
We don't have a deadline for selecting the consultants, but the sooner we select a consultant, the quicker we can get going on the grant, because they have work that they have to do and submit to the EPA before they can work on any projects. So I'll tabulate things and bring that to you at your January meeting and see where you want to go from there. If you want to narrow it down and interview a few of them, if you want to do Zoom interviews, whatever you want to do, we can have that discussed at the January meeting.
And with the EPA, you normally have quarterly filings of, are you needing to do one for the fourth quarter?
I will double check that with our project manager. They're the NEBI-WEBI reports, the minority and women business-owned reports. We don't need to do those until next year because we got started late. I already confirmed that with our project manager. So I will follow up on that. Anything that we have to report would be very simple for this last part of 2022.
And you still have an outreach program to do.
We're going to start that up in January. I've talked with Zach Hillier, who's the housing, what's his title?
Ready.
Housing Ready project person at Housing North for Leelanau County. And he and I are developing a little presentation that we'll take out to communities and start that next year. So we'll kind of hit both things. We'll hit the housing part of it, but we'll also hit this assessment grant as well.
Good, good.
Trudy, you
Yeah.
said we didn't get any questions.
Right.
Did you get any calls? Do you know what the interest is out there?
No
Any
calls.
indications?
No calls, just
No.
on BidNet, I can see that 38 different companies
Yeah.
downloaded the documents, and I see it. I can print it out, every single company that downloaded those documents, their names, their addresses, that's all in there for us. We didn't require them to give us a notice that they were going to submit a proposal. We made that optional, and nobody has notified us yet, but I'm sure we're going to get some proposals.
Next item, consideration of agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved.
Second.
Second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 6-0. Conflict of interest. Any member present today that needs to bring up a potential conflict of interest regarding anything on our agenda today? Hearing none, we'll move on. Consideration of the November 15th, 2022 minutes.
I move approval as presented.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Consent agenda. We have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Unfinished business. Trudy?
No unfinished business.
Brings us to new business, item 1, consideration of TIF reimbursement, pages 8 and 9 in your packet. Trudy?
Okay, and with Jeff being here and his firm working on this for us, if you have any questions that I can't answer, I'm sure Jeff could jump in on that. So we have two memorandums here. The first one is for 2Ps, which is the development in Sutton's Bay at the old dry cleaning place. And basically what this memorandum spells out is a little summary of the project. And we have some discrepancies still with the village on the taxes that have been collected and reimbursed here. We do not have a developer reimbursement agreement with the developer, so any cost that the developer has put into this project is not reimbursable because we don't have anything set up, we have no invoices, nothing. So it would basically be our cost on this project at this point. So for this one, this is just an update for you and to let you know where we're at. We're trying to make sure we have those final TIF dollars clarified with the village and the township on their taxes, and then we'll move forward from there. The next one is the G-Track project, which is down in Elmwood Township. We have made some reimbursements already on this project. They have over $63,000 in approved eligible expenses. There's also the additional $15,000 that they submitted for possible reimbursement consideration. This spells out to you how much tax increment has been received so far. We did reimburse Leelanau County $29,155. That was for the demolition of the old house and garage that was on that property. And we told the county at the time that if there was enough TIF, we were going to pay them back for that expense. So we did that. We also kept money back to the Brownfield Authority in the amount of $21,807.90 for our cost on the project. So now we're looking at the balance of what the developer has. So this one has a potential recommendation at the bottom of repayment to G-Track for $6,737.79. And I did include that in your claims and accounts today on the very last page. That's in red, so that if you approve it, then we will approve the bottom number of claims and accounts instead of just that one invoice. And that's a quick review for you. Jeff, did you have anything else you needed to add?
Was there a development reimbursement agreement for this?
For G-Track, yes.
Okay.
Back to 2Ps. Are we talking a small amount of money that we've captured, or we're still trying to figure out with the township how much we can have, or?
Go ahead.
I think to date we've captured about $8,000 on this project. It generates about $1,800 a year in taxes roughly. And I think the total eligible activities that the county, Brownfield, incurred on that side is around $29,000 to $30,000 total. So it would take a while to get to a point of being able to reimburse the county for their activities in Louisiana. I don't know that we can do it at the end of 30 years.
But what about the 8,000? That's just in the checking account? We haven't resolved all the issues on that?
I don't believe that has been reimbursed to Brownfield Authority yet. I think it's still there until we finalize the discrepancies with the village.
So the quicker we do that, then going forward, there won't be any ongoing discrepancies then, most likely.
Yeah, correct. I think they're relatively minor in some sense. I mean, there were a couple times years that the township village is on that property. So that may be water under the bridge, or to see how that goes. You could at some point here in the near future probably at least take the bulk of that 8,000. Yourself.
Right. I would think we should do that in 2023 if we get those things cleared up. And then with regard to this other one, GTRAC, this is going to be continuing on for a while at that tune, right? Around $6,500 a year, $6,700?
Yes.
That's all going to the developer now. We've been recouped.
Yes.
Now, Jeff's firm is involved in this, right? So he incurs expenses. Who pays those?
The work that was done on the G-Track project was actually a different firm that was involved back then.
Okay.
That worked on the Brownfield plan. That was AKT Peerless on that project. Yeah, not Envirologic. And that was done through some of our assessment funds. So if I don't have the Brownfield plan in front of me, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we set that up to recover those assessment funds?
Correct.
So that would be paid back to the Brownfield Authority, not to AKT Peerless. They're already taken care of.
I think,
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well,
morning, everybody. Sorry, you're catching me. I have to go back and look around the plan, but I mean, I think what you're referring to is perhaps like we have an approved budget to help manage the taxing and the financing for these projects. So there's some costs there. And so you, as an authority, can capture administrative costs from the Brownfield plan.
That we pay out to you or Peerless.
Or AKT Peerless did a portion of that project using EPA grant funds, and we also helped and assisted on the demolition side of things. But those were all costs that were incurred by the grant fund. So there's no eligible activities related to either one of those firms, ourselves or AKT Peerless. We've been paid; those have been paid out by the grant. You're just reimbursing the grant dollars that were used, so you can reuse them again. So going forward, we're trying to repay the developer for eligible costs that they incurred. And I believe there was, on G-Track, I believe Leelanau County's been fully reimbursed for the costs that they used for the grant on that site. So really right now, only thing that we're paying out through tax increment are the costs that were incurred by the developer.
Okay.
So the cost to manage that.
Yes, that's my question.
We could take a portion of the taxes that are captured and use that to pay for your administrative costs of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, which could include our costs.
Right, and that's my question, like, this whole $6,737.79 check is all going to the developer, and I'm wondering, if the Brownfield and indirectly the consultant we use to help us figure out if we're getting the correct amount of TIF revenue and all that, that's an allowable expense that we should consider taking.
Correct.
Shruti, any comments on that?
Well, I would agree, and if you wanted to hold this off till next month, we certainly could do that, and then factor in the costs that Envirologic has had to assist on these TIF projects. So we could bring back a different memo next month. You don't have to approve this month.
well, how did you, from what funds did you pay Envirologic for the admin services?
We're just paying it straight out of what's in the checking account right now.
But the checking account is the admin checking account, right?
It has, the TIF funds come into that as well.
Correct. And that account has enough to pay the admin costs without taking some TIF from whatever would go to the developer. In other words, we have enough to
Yes.
cover the admin costs.
Yes.
Okay. So if we were to take a portion of this reimbursement and put it in the admin for the admin costs, I mean, do we need to do that, or we just pay off the developer? Jeff? you're
Yes,
saying
Jeff.
something.
So I guess I have to go back and look, because typically what we'll do is we'll prorate that across the active brownfield plan. So, whatever those admin costs could be, you can take a portion of that up to, statute allows up to a certain amount, maybe $125,000 annually that you can capture out of brownfield plans. We haven't done that traditionally. I think there's a couple plans that have admin incorporated into those proceeds. I think the focus at this point was to not necessarily pay admin, but to use it to reimburse the eligible costs. We were the EPA grant first at this point in time. So you're going to either pay admin with it or you're going to repay the EPA grant fund. So it's really, because we didn't really see a difference necessarily, other than you could maybe capture a little bit more and it would take longer to pay the developer back at this point. So we haven't got, I think we're at a point now perhaps that we can start looking at that if we want to take an admin cost out of that as well, now that you've been fully reimbursed for the EPA grant dollars. That would apply to this project, E-Track, apply to 2Ps, which is really, if you pay admin, and, you're capturing, what did I say, $1,800 a year on 2Ps, or we were reimbursing for the EPA grant dollars. It's kind of one and the same from that standpoint to some extent.
But you said to reimburse the EPA grant dollars.
Correct.
Where would that money go? In what account?
Back to your general brownfield fund.
We don't have a revolving fund, do we?
It doesn't have to go to a brownfield revolving fund.
Yeah.
You can just go back to your general fund, your brownfield fund.
I would just like to see the brownfield reimbursed for any out-of-pocket expenses, not staff time and all that. That's something else, but that's my only question. I don't want us to have deficits because we're not getting our dollars back that we expended for something that's eligible to be expended. And when I saw the entire amount is going to go to the developer,
Right.
I kind of figured there's got to be ongoing things. So that's where I'm coming from. So I don't know what the desire is to put this on hold for another month or pay this one out and going forward, make sure that we have a plan to recapture this.
But normally, don't we take the admin percentage off the top from any revenues, any TIF?
Jeff?
Again, I think the situation here was a little bit unique in that, for instance, 2Ps. We have no eligible expenses from the developer. So you're basically reimbursing yourself for the EPA grant dollars that were expended. So you could take the $1,800 or $1,600, whatever it is that we capture annually on 2Ps, and we could say, okay, we're going to take a portion of that, pay for admin costs, and then the balance of that would go to reimburse for the EPA grant dollars. You could, if you did that, that's fine, but we still have a 30-year plan that's going to go on, never really fully reimbursed
Right.
anyway.
You said we got 30 grand reimbursable, or,
Right.
and so it doesn't matter if we carve it up into admin or allowable expense.
Right, and that's kind of the same way, the only difference would be perhaps with the Leland site. There again, we're reimbursing for the grant dollars and things that we have other obligations for. We could still carve out the admin costs. So I think that's something we could look at and kind of give you an idea of what that would look like. Because like I said, with the G-Track as well, we've pretty much just been repaid you for your EPA grant dollars. You could continue to carve out dollars for an admin as well. It was kind of coming out of the same bucket.
Can we go back? I mean, if we pay out the entire amount right now to the developer, can we go back and say in 2022 and 2021, we had some additional expenses that we paid to you or to Peerless or wherever the case may be, and go back and get it then?
Yeah, so really going forward, the only admin costs you would have is any work that we need to track the TIF, that's it. That's all that's really available, needed.
Currently.
Everything else is paid back.
Plus recapture the ongoing expenses for tracking all this in 2021 and 2022.
You could.
Okay. Once we figure out how much that is. Yeah.
You'd have to figure out what that, it's usually the actual annual administrative costs. There's other costs that you could throw in there too, depending on what that includes, but typically the admin costs could be included. You could look at, really, the ideal way to do it would be to say, okay, at the end of the year, you incurred $2,500 in admin costs to manage the 3 brownfield plans we have in place right now, 4 brownfield plans in place right now. And then you could prorate those admin costs across all of those plans and recoup those dollars to repay for admin costs. And then once you then see what's left over, pay the developer, reimburse yourselves for the brownfield costs, those types of things.
Got it.
So that cost allocation, we can do that if that's where you want to see your dollars go.
Okay. Therefore, it's not like it's lost if we don't get a disbursement to the brownfield this year. So I wouldn't have any problem with dispersing the 67,3779 to the developer under the context that once we develop the cost incurred in the past, together with current expenses in 2023, we can take it there.
You'd be using future tax dollars though to do that.
True. So, any other questions regarding what Jeff and Trudy has said? Do we have a motion to decide how we're going to treat the $6,700 that is in our
Yeah.
claims and accounts as it is anyway?
I move that we use the capture to, the full capture to pay the developers' eligible costs.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0.
Just as background information, because I don't think any of you were on the board here on that project.
Correct.
There was an old building there, the ground was contaminated, there's an old school, Norris Elementary, highly contaminated, it sat vacant, the grass wasn't cut, it was an eyesore. And Trudy and Jeff did an excellent job, we went down to Chicago twice to meet the EPA official, they did not get it. It came within days of falling apart, the entire deal. And so really, it wasn't for Trudy and Jeff, that'd probably still be a vacant site now. It'd be a blight elimination, because it was shut down in early 2000 and sat vacant for quite a few years. And no one was gonna buy it with all the contamination. So Trudy and Jeff did an excellent job. And just so much respect they were, because we were not making much progress until we actually went out to Chicago and met with those people. I believe twice, Jeff, right, Jeff, you went down there?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And
So really,
Leelanau
those two did a great job. If you drive by there now, the building is completely occupied. It's a community resource center. It's used on a daily basis. And I'm convinced with these two, that building still would be vacant right now.
Great.
Thank you.
That's probably, if you look back at 10 years, that's probably the one project, I think, that Brownfield really had a tremendous positive impact on.
Okay, good. I guess we're into new business. Item 2, termination of West Shore Brownfield Plan. Trudy?
Okay, this has come before you before, about a year ago, and this is for the West Bay project down in Elmwood Township. It had a proposed development along the shore with a marina and our boat slips, and then on the west side is supposed to be condo development. And it was our first approved brownfield plan in the county in 2008, if I remember correctly. It's been revised since then. The project is still not taken off. And if you recall, Jeff had questioned us in the past as why do we still have the plan in place and we're collecting TIF, although it's a small amount, we're still collecting TIF, and there's nothing happening on the project. I did talk with the township supervisor about a week and a half ago. He said the developer has requested 3 extensions so far on the permits. And if you recall from the last meeting, there was correspondence from the developer that they're now in a lawsuit with the neighboring property over a property line dispute. That could take a very long time to resolve. We don't know what that situation is, but some of the things that Jeff has brought up in the past is, does the plan even really reflect what the new development is? With any vapor intrusion issues there on the soils, what was in the plan years ago might not meet the state's requirements now. What is the reason to keep this plan in place and keep collecting TIF? We're not reimbursing the developer for anything yet, and we're not seeing really any type of development moving forward on this project. So that's kind of a quick summary for you. And there was some reimbursement that was paid out to the developer in 2009. And so this is where we're at, is do we start the process to terminate like we did with the Northport Highlands project, the old school or the old hospital building up there? What do? Do we just keep lumping along? And there's a certain amount of time period left in this brownfield plan. So time is running out for the developer to even really get a good recapture on it if the plan moves forward. I don't know if you want to add to that, Jeff?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something if I can in the memo that you have in front of you. There's a statement in the first full paragraph, right at the middle. It says the plan amendment established a fixed term capture to 2023. That's true, kind of. The plan itself actually goes to 2037. So there's some time on it, but they did indicate with the plan amendment in their tables and so forth that they anticipated that the capture to the developer would end, it would be complete by 2023. But that would have been assuming that the project went forward. So there's a little bit more time necessarily available on it. So that's my calculation.
Julie, is Mr. Walter still?
No, he hasn't been involved in some time. It's Mr. Johnson. He lives in Cadillac. I met with him and his assistant pre-COVID, and I had a discussion with him here at the county government building. My biggest takeaway is I didn't really feel that he understood this process very well at all. That not only just what he was planning on doing on the project, but the whole brownfield plan and how TIF works and so forth. I really felt like, and I don't know his background as a developer, but I felt like this may be the first type of a development that he was even trying to do like this.
I believe he came to one of our meetings with Mr. Walters, right?
I think so, yeah.
And he seemed quite confused with the process.
Yeah.
Is there any disadvantage if we were to cancel this current plan?
I'm gonna let Jeff answer that one.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of money spent today to keep this thing up with respect to putting the brownfield plan in place, amending the brownfield plan. There was a DEQ Eagle grant loan on this project too. Unfortunately, you don't have an obligation on the loan anymore on that site. The Act 381 work plan was approved by Eagle for school tax capture on this project as well. A good chunk of some of the eligible activities on the property are related to placement of a vapor mitigation system beneath the new structure. Personally, based on my experience and based on what was put in place at that site or in that 381 work plan, would not pass approval today. So I don't know that even if I was in your position that I wouldn't recommend that or require them to resubmit their 381 work plan back to Eagle now for a review of that plan because frankly, I don't think it would pass muster. So, and I guess my long story to you is that if you were to terminate the plan, as the law allows you to do, the statute allows you to do, they would have to start over again, which fortunately the law has changed because it used to be that when you terminate a plan, you couldn't do another one on that site. Well, now the law has changed that you terminate the plan, they could come back with a new plan on that site. And they have to go through the same process. They have to put a Brownfield plan in place, get the approvals, go after 3-year work plan for school tax capture, all those types of things.
Are we the only one that can unilaterally terminate it, or do we need the township to agree to it, to terminate also?
Brownfield Authority, the governing body is the agency that can do that. So,
That's us.
well, it would be basically the Brownfield Authority would go through the process of submitting a 30-day notice to the last known developer on that property. You'd have a public meeting, doesn't have to be a public hearing, do a public meeting, public comment, what have you, for the developer to make his concerns known and so forth. And then ultimately it would go before the board of commissioners for termination.
Okay, now, beyond the boundary line issue, from what I've been reading in the Leelanau Enterprise, that the boat slips that project is moving forward. I'm not saying they got all the DNR and the ground and the bottomlands and all that stuff, but that is allowed for in the Brownfield plan, to where, I'm assuming, to where it would make sense if I were the developer to keep it going, and there's already been 13,000 in reimbursements. The longer that the developer can get reimbursements and finally get to getting the boat slips working, which is a profitable venture, I would assume, he would want to keep it going. So he's doing his best, let's say, other than the fact that the plan is outdated now for doing the work on the west side of M22. But maybe he's only the LLC is only planning on doing the east side of M22.
I'd have to go back at the plan and look to see how many eligible costs would really truly associated with the marina portion versus the property on the other side of M22 that I think the bulk of that is over there. I think there might have been some sediment removal, but I think the bulk of the costs were on the other side associated with the structures that were going to be built there. So I'm not sure what benefit necessarily is going to get from that.
Okay.
Well,
The other thing you have to take into consideration too is, I guess it would be a reset on initial taxable value for a new brownfield plan, which would be more representative of what the current taxable value is. I can't imagine that it's increased that much. If anything, I want to say there may have been even some parcels that went negative on this plan at one point, which you can't really do, but I mean basically zero.
where the area where the boat slips are those tax parcels, and were they part of the original eligible property? Do you know offhand?
It was part of the original plan. I mean, so the parcels that are on land, I mean,
No, the ones on the water.
on the water side, yeah, those were all part of the brownfield.
They were part of
Right.
the, okay.
And I believe the bottomlands were described as well as part of that too. I just can't recall, if they were, I can't remember if they were gonna be having some sediment removal as part of the eligible costs associated with that or not. That was gonna be brought on to the other side there.
Go ahead, T.
The last time we talked about this, we're going to have the developer provide an update.
And
Let
we
us know.
consulted with our attorney.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't it make sense to just have them respond to where they are at with the project, what they plan to do?
I think this letter stop me if I'm wrong, the October 18th letter that I think is in your packet, maybe it isn't, I've been carrying it forward from month to month in my packet, is in response to what our attorney suggested and what Trudy had talked about doing. Am I wrong, Trudy? And this letter is basically, can I please have another year? I got some property boundary issues to take care of and all this kind of thing.
Yes.
Yes, so that's where we stand. This developer is requesting an extra year based upon our asking for a status check with him.
Let me ask this, if this makes sense. We could start the process to cancel the Brownfield plan. That would provide the owner notice, and before you make a vote, have them come and give an update. To start the process doesn't mean you have to cancel it, but I think we'll put him on notice. There'll be, I think, greater urgency for him to come and give you a more detailed update, and then you can make a decision.
That would be my preference.
Good idea.
If it's Mr. Johnson, he was involved with it originally. They did go through a lot of hoops
Yes.
and got this far. For us just to cancel it and then have them start all over again, it just seems, if we give him notice, that will provide a sense of urgency. He can come, make his case, and at that point, you can decide whether you want to go through the process or not.
So we go through the public hearings. and all
Well,
that.
at least have him come first to this board first, before you even get to that point. I think if Trudy notifies him that this Brownfield board is considering canceling the plan, that you'd like him to give a complete update at January or February meeting, have him come, have him explain what you're doing. At that point, you can make a decision whether you want to follow the process or start the process.
And if there is no response, then we
Well, that tells
proceed.
you something right there.
Exactly.
I seem to recall the facilitation status or settlement status in the 86th District Court, the property dispute. Didn't they say it was being teed up for December or January? Do I remember that right?
Is it in that letter, Dan?
I don't think so.
November, December, or January, yeah.
Okay, you're right.
Well, according to my proposal, there is no downside for this Brownfield.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that approach and maybe some of that can get resolved and we'll have a little bit more surety.
Yeah.
It says here, Johnson said, we are on a schedule for the court process to take place in November, December, or January. Once this process is complete, which we would allow for a decision or a settlement, we are in line to receiving the remaining permits and expect to begin construction in early spring with completion in the summer of 2023. So, and he's thinking that the boundary line issue will be resolved hopefully November, December, January, so, yeah.
Well, invite them to the next meeting or the February meeting and let them know that you're considering canceling the plan and have them explain why it should not be canceled.
Is that,
Yeah, I have one more question for Jeff. The final term of capture to 2023, that you said, well, maybe we can go off further than that. Does that end the year 2023 or a certain date or a certain month?
Well,
Next
it
year.
was stated in their plan that they were gonna be finished capturing for the developer in 2023, but the plan itself said that it could extend to 2037.
Sure.
if
But it'll be tax year 2023.
Correct. Because you can have a plan that goes 30 years, basically, if you so desire.
If that's what it was in the Brownfield plan, though.
Correct. It wasn't Brownfield.
Was it the full amount, the full duration?
so are we ready for a motion?
You want to make your motion? I'll,
Well, to
second
get a
it.
motion, I would authorize that Trudy Gall contact Mr. Johnson and have him appear at a future meeting to give us an update on his Brownfield plan. With consideration that the board is considering canceling it.
Support.
Further discussion?
So do we want to specify that we would see him at the January or February meeting?
I guess that's up.
Doesn't just
Yeah, I guess I would leave it to Trudy to see
linger
with your
along?
schedule. I'd say I would, if you're comfortable, Trudy would contact him, ask him if he can come in January or February, see what his schedule is.
Mutually agreed upon meeting.
Yeah. But within the next 2 months.
Right, that seems reasonable.
Wait, Jeff. There's something there.
And I just, are you in discussion?
Nope. Yes, we're in discussion, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask, do you want to use the language from the statute, or is this a friendly request. I guess that's my question, is do you want to start the process truly?
I would say,
For the
no.
plan, or do you want to just do a friendly?
My
We've done
suggestion is
we've
you
done
do-
friendlies.
Yeah, we've done friendly already.
Well, you can notify them you're gonna consider, because you have to pass a motion to start the process, right? So
Yeah.
I'd say put this on the January agenda.
To discuss with him.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we have to start the clock.
No,
We'll
but
start
if
the
he doesn't
clock
come,
if he doesn't
Or if he
come,
doesn't respond, then you can start the process in January.
Then we can
Right.
use the statute language
Mhm.
in that motion or whatever at that point. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0.
Read back the motion, since amended twice.
Next item, financials, claims, and accounts, page 11 and 12 in your packet. Basically, it's the $6,700 that we have already talked about and another $58 from Envirologic, which was in our consent agenda items. So, do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. I second.
So T. and Rick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Correspondence and communication items.
Just real quickly for you, the two-piece project in Suttons Bay Village, we were audited by the state on that Brownfield plan, and Just Firm helped out with that. We've never had an audit on one before, and we did find some discrepancies as far as the tip that was collected versus what we thought that we should have collected. So we're working that out with the village. The documentation was submitted down to the state, and thanks to Envirologic's team for preparing that to get that off to them. We will have to send a revision to them because of some of these other minor things that we found. So took care of that, and I think that's about it.
Public comments?
Very briefly, I think. Larry Lobby from Peninsula Housing. I just wanted to let the Brownfield Authority know that Peninsula Housing expects to close on the purchase of a parcel in this township of Suttons Bay, adjacent to the village of Suttons Bay, that we would look to establishing a Brownfield TIF at some point. The property, we would look at developing affordable housing, and it consists of an old farmstead. So it's got an old farmhouse that's occupied, a barn that's unsafe, and 4 other small outbuildings. So there are clearly some cleanup work that needs to be done. I just wanted to let you know that we'll be approaching the township soon to ask them to support a Brownfield TIF. One of the things that we are going to have to do, we have to do a DEA within 45 days of closing, which will be, I believe, too soon to be able to have it done under the EPA grant.
You mean the phase 1 and phase 2?
Yeah. My question is, and this is something that I could have asked anybody anytime, I suspect, if we expend monies like that prior to the establishment of a Brownfield plan, can they be included in the reimbursable expenses in Brownfield plan?
Trudy?
I believe the answer to that is yes, right, Jeff?
Well,
Possibly?
Maybe.
Right. So if you have eligible activities that are incurred prior to adoption of a Brownfield plan, should the Brownfield plan be adopted, you can reimburse those eligible activities with local tax income only. So yes,
Okay. And
But-
local tax increment means townships or township and county?
Just a tough point of order, this is public comment.
Oh,
By
that's right.
rules, you're not supposed to get
Yeah.
engaged in dialogue.
Yeah.
Simply an opportunity for the public to speak. As soon as you get done and we adjourn, then you
That
you can have.
Fine, thank you.
But just to stay within the rules.
So do you want me to address this question or not?
No,
I'll
not
say
during
wait for
public.
My intention really was to just put you on notice that we're going to be back. Thank you.
Okay. Director comments.
Nothing further?
Okay, Kevin.
Oh, there.
Eric Carlson from the Leelanau Enterprise. I heard you talking about West Bay Partners. Elmwood Township Planning Commission a week ago tonight, last Tuesday night, granted West Bay Partners a one-year extension for the marina portion of their project, which does include removing some of the spoils and putting it on the other side of M22. They're also going to put a parking area in there. So the marina part, which is still ongoing as far as Elmwood Township is concerned, will include some development on both sides of M22.
Very good to know. Thank you very
That's what I
much.
heard from, it'll be in next week's paper.
Okay. Was it for public and director comments?
I didn't have.
Member comments?
Yes, I want to comment. It's my last meeting. I think we're very fortunate to have Trudy Gallo running at Brownfield here. I've been here 10 years, so that probably makes me the longest serving Brownfield member in history, I think. But she had done a great job, and Jeff has been a great consultant. Like I said, I think of that project at Norris Elementary, that almost fell apart and would have been vacant for years and years and years with all the fire washes. They cut through all the red tape. Trudy does an excellent job with all of these moving pieces constantly. It's a very complex process for Brownfield. And as you know, Trudy's been recognized at statewide and national level for her expertise, has given presentation at the state and national level. And Jeff's not a bad guy to work with either, most of the time. So no, you're very fortunate to have those two.
Great. As a matter of fact, you stole most of my thunder. I was going to say the same thing about Jeff and Therese and their help to the Brownfield plan in 2022, and look forward to working with you in the future again. And absolutely with Trudy, we are just blessed to have her on board for over 30-some years in various capacities, including acting administrator, co-administrator for a period of time. So thanks to Trudy also. And we look forward to working with Deborah, your replacement, next year. And also to the members. This is my first year on the Brownfield and my first year as chairperson, and thanks for your input and help and your attendance. It made my job a lot easier. Lois, we enjoyed working with you during your tenure on this board, and I know, even though you won't be on this board, you're going to be active involved in
Plan to be.
housing, affordable and attainable housing matters, and you still are on other committees in doing so. And then finally, Chet, yes, you're leaving the county after 10 years, job well done. You're leaving the county in a much better position than it was before you came. You should be commended for that, and we look forward to still seeing you on a part-time basis. So you're going on part-time retirement. And again, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful working with you on the land bank and the Brownfield, from my perspective. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
One more, I have a comment.
Okay.
I think it would be appropriate for Trudy to provide some information about or Jeff about how to qualify a property as a brownfield. Because I heard that they were considering doing a brownfield plan for the property. Well, first he has to qualify first, and then talk about due diligence work and the BA, and there are some steps there.
Right.
A BA is several steps away from just acquiring the property, so.
And at the conclusion of this meeting, I think they're going to do that or agree on a mutually agreeable time, and with your knowledge, that would be helpful for you to, if you have the time.
Well, you got a
to talk to them.
consultant.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. We are adjourned.
No way, it's Trudy's birthday this week.
Uh-oh.
So we have birthday donuts for her.
Finally turning 40.
See, Deb, I still didn't get the pie. I noticed that. I was waiting for that.
I'm not the administrator, that's